Ever notice how some folks just seem to attract wealth
Mm,
while others struggle, even with hustle?
yeah.
Like, is it luck?
Right?
Some secret handshake? Or
Yeah.
could it be in our
Yeah.
brains?
Interesting.
Today's deep dive, we're going headfirst into the psychology of money.
Okay.
We're ditching the spreadsheets and interest rates for now and
Yeah. Good.
exploring how our thoughts and feelings about money,
Okay.
what experts call our money mindset,
Right.
can either be our financial BFF or our own worst enemy.
It's interesting, isn't it? This whole notion that our relationship with money runs deeper than just numbers. We often carry around these unconscious beliefs about wealth, formed through years of experiences and messages we've absorbed.
Okay, so money mindset, it sounds kind of mystical,
Yeah.
but what's the deal in plain English?
Think of it as the lens you see your finances through.
Okay.
It's the collection of beliefs, attitudes, often subconscious, that shape every financial decision you make. How you earn, how you spend, how you save, even how you invest.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is this lens something we're stuck with, like from childhood,
Hmm.
or can we give it an upgrade?
It's definitely more nurture than nature. Think about it. What messages did you pick up about money as a kid?
Oh, wow.
Were you told money doesn't grow on trees?
Right.
Or did your family talk about investments and opportunities? Those early experiences really lay the foundation for our grown-up relationship with money.
Makes sense. If you grew up watching your family stress over every penny,
Right.
it's easy to see how that could create a scarcity mindset,
Totally.
this feeling like there's never enough to go around.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And on the flip side, if you were surrounded by messages of abundance, you're more likely to see money as a tool for creating possibilities.
Right.
But even beyond our upbringing, the media also plays a huge role in shaping those perceptions.
Oh, totally. Social media, especially, with everyone showcasing these glamorous lifestyles,
Yeah.
it's easy to fall into the comparison trap,
Yeah.
thinking we're doing something wrong if we're not living like Instagram influencers.
It's like we're handed this financial playbook we never signed up for, bombarded with messages about what it means to be successful, how much we should be spending, what we need to be happy. And often, we're not even aware of how these external messages are influencing our choices.
Wow.
That's why understanding your own unique money mindset is so crucial. It's the first step to rewriting the script, if it's no longer serving you.
So how much of a role do our emotions play in all of this?
Hmm.
Because we're not exactly robots calculating our net worth, right? We're talking about money, and money can make people feel all the feels.
You're hitting on a really critical point here.
Okay.
Money is inherently emotional.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, our emotions often overpower logic when it comes to making financial decisions.
Yeah.
And that's when we make those choices we end up regretting.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah,
That impulse buy, that seemed like such a fantastic idea at 2 a.m.
right.
Definitely emotion-driven, not exactly my most rational moment.
That's a perfect example. It's not just impulse purchases, though. Fear can keep us stuck in neutral, too afraid of making a wrong move with our investments to even get in the game.
Yeah.
We see other people making money, maybe even getting lucky,
Right.
and that fear can morph into FOMO, that fear of missing out.
Oh, I've been there. Suddenly I'm thinking, I need to buy into the latest craze, like meme stocks or whatever's trending, without doing any actual research.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Fear and greed, they're like the frenemies of sound financial decision-making. Greed can make us chase those get-rich-quick schemes without thinking through the potential consequences. And then there's good old anxiety. Some of us, we deal with anxiety by hoarding money. We equate money with security.
Yeah.
But in that process, we might miss out on the joy of actually using it to live our lives.
It's like our emotions are these powerful forces capable of either propelling us forward financially or
Right.
keeping us stuck in a rut.
Which is exactly why understanding these emotional influences is just as important as understanding the numbers themselves. It's about building that self-awareness to catch ourselves when our emotions are about to take the wheel
Yeah.
and maybe steer us into a ditch. We've got to be able to hit pause, recognize what's driving our decisions, and make sure they align with our goals, not just our feelings in the moment.
And speaking of things that can lead us astray, let's talk about cognitive biases. I've heard that term before, but honestly, I'm a little fuzzy on what it actually means.
Okay.
How do these biases mess with us financially?
So cognitive biases, they're like these mental shortcuts our brains use to simplify information.
Okay.
For most situations, they work great,
Right.
help us make quick decisions.
Right.
But when it comes to money,
Yeah.
they can trip us up big time.
Okay.
It's like our brains are playing these sneaky tricks on us, especially when there are dollar signs involved.
So give me an example. What's a common bias that can lead to not so great financial choices.
One of the big ones is confirmation bias.
Okay.
It's our tendency to seek out information that confirms what we already believe,
Yeah.
even if it means completely ignoring evidence that contradicts our viewpoint.
Oh, I know this one all too well. It's like when you've been eyeing a particular stock and you only focus on the articles, singing its praises, brushing off any negative press as fake news or just outliers.
You've got it. Or let's say you make an investment that's not looking so hot.
Yeah.
You might double down, investing even more because you've already put so much in. That's the sunk cost fallacy in action.
Mm.
And then there's loss aversion. The pain of a loss packs a much bigger emotional punch than the joy of an equal gain.
Ah, so that explains why some people hold on to those losing investments way too long, hoping to break even, instead of just cutting their losses and putting that money to better use elsewhere. It's like that old saying, throwing good money after bad.
Right. Again.
Right.
And of course, we can't forget about overconfidence.
Yeah.
We overestimate our financial knowledge, our ability to time the market, whatever it might be.
Yikes. Been there, done that. I think we all have a little bit of that I've got this attitude,
Yeah.
but it can be dangerous when it comes to managing our money.
Absolutely. Overconfidence often goes hand in hand with taking on more risk than we should, whether it's investing in something we don't fully understand or racking up debt with the belief that we'll easily earn enough to pay it off. Which brings us to a crucial point. Knowledge really is power when it comes to building a healthy relationship with money.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How can we actually boost our financial IQ? Where do we even begin? There's so much information out there, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
You're right, it can definitely feel like information overload, but the good news is we live in an age where financial literacy is more accessible than ever before.
Okay, so we're drowning in information but thirsty for that financial knowledge. What's the first gulp we should be taking?
You don't need to chug the whole ocean at once. Start with something simple yet powerful. Budgeting.
All right, budgeting. I'll admit, for some folks, that word doesn't exactly scream fun.
Right.
It can feel restrictive,
Yeah,
even a little scary to confront where our money is really going.
I hear you. But what if, instead of restriction, we think of budgeting as designing our ideal financial life? It's less about deprivation and more about empowerment, making conscious choices about where your money goes instead of letting it just slip away.
So, like, instead of feeling limited by a budget,
Right.
we can actually gain more freedom by being intentional with our spending.
Exactly. It's about aligning your spending with your values.
Mhm.
Do you value
Yeah.
experiences over material things?
Right.
Great. Your budget can reflect that. When you're in control, you're naturally calmer, less anxious about money. And that peace of mind, that's priceless.
That's a way better pitch for budgeting than I've ever heard. It's interesting you mentioned being calmer.
Yeah.
It seems like mindfulness would also play a big role in cultivating a healthier relationship with money. But how do we actually practice mindfulness when it comes to our finances? It sounds kind of new agey.
Mindfulness at its core is just about awareness.
Okay.
It's about bringing that same non-judgmental awareness to your money habits
Yeah.
that you might to your breath in a meditation app.
So next time I'm about to click buy on yet another pair of shoes I don't need,
Yeah.
I should maybe hit pause and ask myself,
Right.
what's the real reason behind this purchase? Is it truly bringing me joy, or am I trying to fill some emotional void?
Bingo. And maybe you realize, hey, I always overspend when I'm stressed. That's a huge insight. Now you can start to address the root cause, the stress, instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it with a shopping spree.
That's brilliant because, let's be real, most of us know we should be saving more, spending less.
Right.
But knowing and doing are two different things.
Totally.
Mindfulness helps bridge that gap.
Exactly. It's about catching those autopilot behaviors, those money scripts we've been running for years, and making a conscious choice to rewrite them.
And speaking of rewriting, let's talk about setting financial goals. We all have them,
Yeah.
whether it's buying a house, early retirement, or just not panicking when the car breaks down. But how can we set goals that we actually achieve instead of just daydreaming about them?
It's all about getting crystal clear. It's not enough to say, I want to be rich or I want to save more. That's like saying, I want to be healthier. Too vague. Get specific and break it down. What does rich even mean to you?
Right. Maybe rich is being debt-free or traveling the world or starting that business you've always dreamed of.
Precisely. Define your version of success. Attach a realistic time frame to it, and then backtrack. How much do you need to save each month to reach that goal? Having those milestones, those mini victories along the way, that's what keeps you motivated.
And celebrating those small wins is crucial. Did you hit your savings target this month?
Yeah.
High five. Treat yourself. Within reason, of course. We don't want to sabotage our progress.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance between celebrating wins and staying laser focused on the bigger picture. And
Yeah.
that's where a growth mindset comes in handy.
Okay, growth mindset. We usually hear that phrase tossed around in self-help circles, but it's totally relevant to our financial lives too, right?
Absolutely. A growth mindset is like that inner voice that says, I can learn and grow from this, instead of, I'm just bad with money, and that's that.
Yeah.
It's about reframing those supposed failures as feedback, as stepping stones on your path to success.
So instead of beating ourselves up over financial missteps, we can ask ourselves, okay, what can I learn from this experience? How can I do things differently next time?
Exactly. And part of that learning process is celebrating even those small victories. Did you finally stick to your budget this month?
Yeah.
High five. Did you resist that impulse purchase and invest that money instead? You're on fire.
Mm.
These wins, no matter how small, they build momentum and fuel that growth mindset.
It's like we're building this positive feedback loop. The more we acknowledge and celebrate our progress, the more motivated we are to keep going. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, everything from those sneaky cognitive biases to the power of setting clear financial goals. But before we wrap things up, I'm wondering, is there anything we might be overlooking in this whole wealth and mindset equation?
That's such a great question, and it brings up a really crucial point. We've been focusing on those internal factors like our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about money. And while those are undeniably important, we can't discount the influence of our external environment.
Our external environment. What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about everything outside of ourselves that can impact our relationship with money. Our social circles, the cultural norms we're exposed to, even the economic systems we live in. These factors can have a subtle and sometimes not so subtle effect on our financial trajectories.
That makes a lot of sense. We're constantly bombarded with messages about money, success, and what we should be striving for. It's easy to get caught up in the comparison game.
Precisely. Think about the people you spend the most time with. Do their financial habits and attitudes rub off on you in any way? Are you more likely to make impulsive purchases if your friends are always encouraging you to treat yourself? Or do you find yourself more inspired to save and invest when you're hanging out with financially savvy people?
It's like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but applied to our finances.
Exactly. And then there are those broader cultural messages we internalize. Do we live in a culture that prioritizes instant gratification and consumerism, or one that emphasizes long-term planning and financial prudence? These cultural norms, often operating beneath our conscious awareness, can significantly impact our financial behaviors.
It's like we're swimming in this sea of influences, and it's easy to get swept away by the current if we're not paying attention. We might not even realize how much our environment is shaping our financial decisions.
And we can't ignore those systemic factors like income inequality and access to financial resources. These factors create substantial barriers to wealth building for certain individuals and communities. It's important to acknowledge that we're not all operating on a level playing field.
So it's not just about individual effort and mindset. It's about understanding how these external factors can either support or hinder our progress. It's a lot to unpack.
It is. But the empowering part is recognizing that while we can't control every aspect of our external environment, we can choose to become more aware of its influence. We can proactively surround ourselves with people who inspire us financially, seek out communities that support our goals, and advocate for systems that promote greater financial equity.
It's about taking ownership of our financial well-being, recognizing that it's a journey shaped by both internal and external forces. What a powerful realization. As we wrap up this deep dive into the psychology of wealth, what's the key takeaway for listeners who are ready to embark on this journey toward a healthier, more abundant relationship with money?
I think the most important takeaway is this. Your money mindset is not fixed. It's a constantly evolving journey, and there's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to gain. Embrace the process, be kind to yourself along the way, and remember that you have the power to rewrite your financial story.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. If our environment plays such a significant role in shaping our financial realities, what steps can we take, both individually and collectively, to create a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive? It's a question worth pondering as we all navigate our own unique financial journeys. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those wallets happy.